Welcome to the Division I Women's Soccer Selection Show. I'm your host, Matt Schumacher. 48 teams begin their quest to reach the College Cup this week in pursuit of a national title. The entire tournament will take place in the state of North Carolina at various sites, with the final match being played in Cary on May 17th. Last season, it was Stanford edging North Carolina in penalties to win its third national championship. This year, a clean slate. 48 teams find themselves in the tournament field, 24 automatic qualifiers via conference championships, and 24 at-large bids who await their fate today. As for the top 16 seeds, they have earned first-round byes and will play the winners of the opening round matchups on April 27th and 28th. Lots to get to throughout the course of this show. Before we unveil the bracket, though, let's welcome NCAA Division I Women's Soccer Committee Chair Cliff Douglas to the program. Cliff, thanks for joining us. You know, this was an unprecedented year in college athletics. Some leagues played only conference games. Some played their tournaments in the fall, others in the spring. Others didn't even play a conference tournament. So with all those variables, what was the biggest challenge this year in terms of putting together the bracket?
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you having me on today. And just to open up, I'll say congratulations in advance to all the teams who did make it to the NCAA tournament this year. This was definitely by far the hardest selection process that I've been a part of. We worked really hard in the room, but I think going into it, we knew that it was going to be a difficult year. We lost a very reliable tool in the RPI. And we knew that it was going to be a limited tool this year just due to fewer non-conference opportunities. And then also for those who did play non-conference games, a lot of teams stayed more regional than they usually would in any given year. So I think that made it tough. So we relied a lot on our regional advisory committees. They met year-round on several ranking calls talking about the teams in their separate regions, and those regional advisory committees are made up of a representative from each one of our Division I conferences that sponsor the sport of women's soccer. So that group was very helpful in narrowing down those teams that were deserving of getting into the tournament.
Well, that's great stuff. And of course, without the RPI this year, that makes it a little bit more interesting in terms of putting together the bracket and utilizing certain tools that have been so helpful in years past. So how did you, or what were, I should say, the main factors that went into deciding who got in and who didn't this year, given the fact that RPI wasn't really a key factor?
Right. So, again, we leaned a lot on that regional advisory committee. And without the RPI, we were very transparent with that group that, we were going to be leaning on them a lot this year. But I think tried to focus on overall body of work as much as possible. When we could, of course, with fewer crossover within conferences, but then also with some teams not even playing conference seasons. Like I said, it was very difficult, but we relied a lot on that group and tried to put the best at-large teams in as we could, and really honed in on that for the last few days on what those bodies of work look like and what produced a very exciting bracket.
Well, I know those 24 teams are waiting anxiously. I know you spent a lot of late nights putting together this bracket. We'll be joined by Cliff later on in the show for his thoughts after we wrap up the bracket unveil. But Cliff, thanks a lot for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Who's
in? What are the matchups? Let's answer those questions right now. We start in the top left section of the bracket, and the number one overall seed, Florida State, who is 11-0 for the third time in program history, unbeaten since the NCAA tournament in 2019. The Seminoles boast a balanced attack with 5 players having scored at least 4 goals this year, and they are experienced, returning 15 players from the 2019 quarterfinal team, and they're hunting for their second national championship in 3 years. Florida State will play the winner of the first-round match between Elon and Milwaukee. Both teams are automatic qualifiers from the Colonial Athletic Association and the Horizon League. Moving on down, Penn State gets an at-large bid after a splendid Big Ten season in which they only lost 2 matches and tallied the most goals in the conference by 14, thanks to the top 2 goal scorers In the Big Ten, Frankie Tagliaferri and Allie Schlegel. The Nittany Lions will take on Southwest Athletic Conference champion Alabama State. This is the third bid in 5 years for the Lady Hornets. The winner of this fixture will square off with 16 overall seed and SEC tournament champion Vanderbilt. The Commodores won their first league tournament title since 1994 this fall, defeating Arkansas in the SEC tournament title. Vandy also went 4-1-1 against ranked opponents this season. Moving down the left-hand side of the bracket, the Duke Blue Devils earn an at-large bid and the number 9 overall seed out of the ACC. They've had 11 players score at least 1 goal this season, but really they're bolstered by a veteran back line led by senior Caitlin Cosme. And the Blue Devils will await the winner of Arizona State and Siena. The Sun Devils are the only team in the country to beat Pac-12 champion UCLA this year, while the Siena Saints earned the automatic qualifier from the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, after being picked to finish 8th, a splendid run in the tournament. Ole Miss will match up with Bowling Green in the first round. The Falcons won their 3rd straight MAC tournament title on Saturday night, while Ole Miss is back after a brief hiatus in 2019. The winner of that match will face 8th-seeded Southern Cal. The Trojans have made it to at least the 3rd round of the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years, falling 3-2 in the quarterfinals to UNC in 2019. But this is a veteran group, 10 upperclassmen, including the junior Penelope Hawking, who continued to dazzle this year, leading the Pac-12 with 10 goals. She now has 42 in 3 seasons. Watch out for Hawking and Southern Cal. All right, halfway through this side of the bracket and earning the 5 seed and a bye to the second round, West Virginia. This is the 21st consecutive NCAA tournament appearance for the Mountaineers, which is the 5th longest in the nation. Navigating a tough Big 12 schedule this year, it wasn't any one player for West Virginia, but a level scoring sheet facilitated by Lauren Segala, who led the Big 12 with 5 assists this season. West Virginia will take on the winner of Rice and Furman. The Rice Owls ride a 9-match unbeaten streak into the tournament after taking the Conference USA crown over the weekend, while Furman won the automatic bid from the Southern Conference and will make its 8th tournament appearance. Welcome back, Furman. Meanwhile, Virginia out of the ACC will face Ohio Valley Conference champion Southern Illinois Edwardsville. The Virginia Cavaliers only played 4 spring matches, but they have a plethora of postseason experience. 8 seniors who have helped Virginia go 5-3 in the tournament in the last 3 trips. And the winner will get a date with 12-seeded BYU. The Cougars earn an at-large bid after finishing 2nd in the West Coast Conference and racking up the most goals in the NCAA this year with 47. They are unbeaten in the last 8 matches, and they return a bulk of their roster, which advanced to the Elite 8 just a season ago. All right, moving down the bracket. Big East tournament champion Georgetown is the 13 seed, coming off their 4th Big East tournament title in the last 5 seasons with an overtime defeat of Butler on Sunday. Super senior Jenna Menta earned Big East Offensive Player of the Year. But listen, this team has an unbelievable defense, and that's what sets the Hoyas apart. Just 2 goals allowed in 11 matches this season. That's good for 2nd best in the country. And the Hoyas will face the winner of South Carolina and Montana. The Gamecocks boast one of the best defenses in the nation as well, posting 12 shutouts behind the play of keeper Claudia Dickey. 3 teams remain on this side of the bracket. Welcome back to the dance, New Mexico. Fresh off a golden goal in the Mountain West regular season finale, the Lobos make their first appearance in the NCAA tournament since 2011. and they will face back-to-back Patriot League champion Navy in their first round matchup. The final team on this side of the bracket, Big 12 champ and 4th-seeded TCU. The Horned Frogs were the only undefeated team in the Big 12 this season at 8-0-1. Yasmin Ryan was third in the league with 8 goals, but TCU allowed just 5 goals in 13 total matches. Emily Alvarado tallied 8 shutouts as their keeper. All right, halfway home, 24 teams have been unveiled. 24 remain. Let's head to the right side of the bracket, where we start with the automatic qualifier from the Pac-12, UCLA. The Bruins won the regular season outright, outscoring opponents 33-11 this season, led by freshman forward Raylan Turner, one of the top goal scorers in the conference with 9. The Bruins look to make back-to-back runs to the College Cup here in 2021. UCLA will get the winner of the first-round match between Big Ten Tournament Cinderella Iowa and Campbell. What a run for the Hawkeyes. They shocked the conference this week, winning their first Big Ten title in program history after going 2-8-1 during the conference regular season. This is Iowa's second straight NCAA tournament appearance. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights are in as an at-large bid from the Big Ten Conference. After falling in the semifinals of the conference tournament, they square off with Southeastern Louisiana, fresh off their first Southland tournament title since 2015. Welcome back to the big dance, Lady Lions. And the winner of that matchup will move on to the second round to face the 14-seed Clemson Tigers. Congrats to the Tigers on an at-large bid. They have not suffered a loss since November 10th, rattling off 6 straight wins, including a defeat of number 11 South Carolina most recently. And Clemson went undefeated at home this year for the first time in program history. Spectacular season for the Tigers out of the ACC and a well-deserved at-large bid. The 11-seed Santa Clara won the West Coast Conference Tournament title and makes its 6th trip to the NCAA tournament in the last 7 years. The Broncos will host the winner of the first-round match between Ohio State and Stony Brook. Welcome to the tournament. Meanwhile, Memphis returns to the tournament for their 15th time, and they'll host Utah Valley, who just won its 3rd WAC title since 2015. The winner of that game will set its sights on 6th-seeded Arkansas, an at-large bid out of the SEC, making its 4th straight trip to the NCAA tournament in spite of a youthful roster. I mean, listen, this is a team that had 13 freshmen this year, led by the phenom Ellie Pottigill, who tallied 7 goals, 9 assists, and led Arkansas to a mark of 7-1-0 in conference, including a split of the conference title. They had 4 wins over top 25 opponents this season. Definitely a formidable group heading in to the tournament next week. Moving on to our final quarter of the bracket, the 7th seed is Texas A&M. The Aggies are making their 26th consecutive NCAA tournament after earning a share of that SEC regular season crown. With Arkansas, they went 7-1-0. And if momentum means anything, the Aggies also just defeated Big 12 champ and 3rd-ranked TCU on April 10th. Taking on the Aggies will be the winner of South Florida and Central Connecticut State. The 15th-ranked Bulls earned a spot in the field with their 3rd American Conference title in the last 4 years, and they had 5 players earning American Conference first-team honors. A great season for the Bulls, and they'll take on a Central Connecticut team that swept the Northeast Conference Season Awards, winning 5 Player of the Year honors. That should be a very fun matchup. Neither team with a loss this year. Moving down the bracket, Colorado back in the tournament and will take on the automatic qualifier out of the Sun Belt Conference in South Alabama. 10th-seeded Oklahoma State will be watching that match closely. The Cowgirls earned an at-large bid after finishing the season ranked 18th in the nation with a record of 12-3-1, including wins over West Virginia and St. Louis. Speaking of St. Louis, that's where the final portion of today's bracket begins, with the Billikens returning to the NCAA tournament as the 15 seed after winning their third straight Atlantic 10 tournament crown. St. Louis went 15-1 this season, its best record through 16 games in program history. And the Billikens will await the winner of Washington and Liberty. The final first-round fixture pits Summit League champ Denver against MVC champion Loyola Chicago. And the winner of that gets the 2 seed, and the final team we unveiled this afternoon, North Carolina. It wouldn't be a postseason without the Tar Heels. UNC has won 23 of the 27 ACC championships, 21 of the 38 NCAA national championships, and this year's team boasts one of the best defenses in the nation behind the play of Claudia Dickey, who has 12 shutouts on the year. All 48 teams have been unveiled. The ACC and the SEC each get 5 teams in, with Florida State earning the #1 overall seed. Let's bring back NCAA Women's Committee Chairman Cliff Douglas to break it all down. Cliff, you talked about it before we came on air. There were some really late nights. You told us a little bit about how you leaned on some of the regional folks to be deciding factors in who got into this tournament. When you look at constructing the way the bracket shook out, especially given the fact that this tournament is played all in the state of North Carolina, what decided some of the matchups?
So that was actually something that we really enjoyed about this process. With only having 19 at-large positions this year, of course, it was very difficult. But with having a centrally located tournament in North Carolina this year, we didn't have the normal constraints that we would with the regional matchups that we usually have to pay attention to. So this year we definitely had the option to take some liberties and create some matchups that you normally wouldn't see, just due to teams staying usually regionally. So I think we have some really exciting games in our first round and in our second round. That are going to be some really tough contests, but some really exciting contests as well. And you're going to see some matchups that you normally wouldn't see in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's a great point. As I was looking at this bracket, I thought, wow, there's some really intriguing matchups here, particularly given the fact that you've got some teams in it who haven't been in the NCAA tournament a whole heck of a lot in their program's history. When you look at this field and you look at the tournament as a whole, Cliff, what are you most looking forward to just as a soccer fan heading into next week?
For me, it's just I think the most exciting part is just seeing the student athletes' energy that they bring onto the field. This is postseason, and so it's going to be an elevated level of soccer for all of the teams that are still competing. So I look to see a lot of smiling faces, a lot of excited young women who are out here competing for a national title, and I'm ready to get it started.
And we're just thankful to have an NCAA tournament again this year after we didn't have one in 2020. Thank you, Cliff, for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. We're just a week away from the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. It all kicks off on Tuesday, April 27th. 48 teams, one goal to reach the College Cup and win a national title. Make sure you check back here on NCAA.com for updated results and news throughout the tournament. And we thank you for tuning in. Congratulations to the 48 teams who are dancing. Best of luck to all the student athletes competing in this year's championship.
If a champion can teach us anything, it's to stay hungry, to keep our resolve, and to prepare for what's next. So to the players in the college sports community who never stop believing, the end goal is in sight, the ultimate rally, a comeback for all ages. For the fans, the teams, and most importantly, the players. Let's bring on the next champion. We're ready.